A pleasant afternoon to members of the media. We want to thank you for accepting our invitation to this press briefing. Today on the press briefing, we have the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Stephen Williams, and Mr. Glenn Hackett, Deputy Commissioner of Police with responsibility for crime. So at this time, I'd like to hand over to Mr. Williams, Commissioner of Police.
Thank you very much, Inspector Meiser. I wanted to take, firstly, the opportunity of addressing the matter relating to allegations about soldiers' presence within varying communities and the actions that they are alleged to have been taken. Firstly, I would want to share with you that I've been out of the country, out of Trinidad and Tobago, for 9 days. And I hear people complain about the silence of the commissioner on the issue. During my absence, there was an acting commissioner of police, and that person was Mrs. Anne-Marie Allen Daly. Whatever happens in the country at the point in time when I'm out, whoever is leading the police service will address all the matters relating to policing in the country. I'm here, and there are issues which are out in the public domain in relation to whether the police service has made any particular demands for soldiers to be operating on their own in varying communities. Before I left the country, one of your reporters, Mr. Mark Knight, brought to my attention an issue which he and others would have been confronted with in the Bessemer Street Police Station district. Arising out of that, I brought to the attention of the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Mirage, the information that was brought to my attention. Beyond that, I also had a complaint made by someone from St. Barb's community about issues of abuse by members of the Defense Force. I brought that to the attention of the Chief of Defense Staff. On my return to country, I heard within the media, and I also read about additional issues. Yesterday afternoon, I again contacted the Chief of Defense Staff and shared with him the issues that I would have been privy to by way of what I would have read and what have been brought to my attention, and sought clarity from him whether there has been any change by way of directions to soldiers and their operations with the police service. He made it clear to me that there has been no change by way of his directions, because soldiers generally operate in support of the police service. It's a long-standing arrangement which, goes back to almost time immemorial. But the major trust with the activities, what we call joint activities between the Defense Force and the police service, would have been highly accentuated with what was described as the formation of the Interagency Task Force. And that would have been around 2003, with a clear focus on operating within what is described as high-risk communities, especially Laventille, Sealots, and those surrounding communities. And from that time to now, soldiers have been operating in support of the police service and our effort in driving crime down in those high-risk communities. In 2014, we made additional demands and requests for the support of the Defense Force when we had, within 7 days of the year, 19 murders in the country. So we did, in fact, make a request for additional support. But under no circumstances in the request is a request for soldiers to be out there carrying out operations on their own. I was given the assurance by the Chief of Defense Staff that he has not authorized any detachment of soldiers to be carrying out operations on their own. The operations of the Defense Force in the context of the relationship with the police service is in support of the police service. And the Defense Force normally make reference to it in the form of aid to civil power. I wanted to bring that clarity around the matter and my involvement in the matter, because all the discussions is about the Commissioner of Police. And it would seem like I just went into some area of quiet without making comments on a matter. I was out of the country for the last 9 days. And this has happened over time. Every time I leave the country, somebody in the media domain will raise, what the commissioner comment on something. But every time I leave the country, the Service Commission appoints someone else to function as the Commissioner of Police. So any matter which is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, that person is responsible for addressing it. And to the best of my knowledge, there was nothing of major concern to be addressed by the acting commissioner then, Mrs. Anne-Marie Allen Daly. But I wanted to bring clarity around my status because it's clear that it has been raised. The association was on the television highlighting the issues around the very said issue about the acting commissioner and his involvement and whether he's silent or whatever. I wanted to make it known, crystal clear. In fact, some members of the media contacted me by the telephone, and I shared the very said information that I gave no direction, and I have not received any further information from the Chief of Defense in the context of him authorizing operations. I saw it in none of the articles published by the very said reporters. But they are not under an obligation to so publish. But I'm just sharing with you, members of the very said media contacted me to clear up the issue. And in reading the articles, not a single one of those articles reflected that clarity that I sought to share with them. So I just wanted to bring that as clear as possible and entertain any question around that issue that you may have on the working relationship between the Defense Force and the police service. Right? The Defense Force has provided us with support over the years, and it's useful support. It has been beneficial support as we look at the issue of crime prevention and providing some kind of environment of safety for the citizens of this land. But what has been happening over the last 2 weeks, I personally, as the head of the police service, I have concerns. Similar concerns which you share, I have concerns. I have brought those concerns to the attention of the Chief of Defense Staff, and he has given me clear assurances that he has not authorized soldiers to be carrying out any operations on their own out there. So the situation is, if any member of the society is adversely affected by the actions of members of the Defense Force, where they are assaulted, they are to make reports to the police stations nearest to them, and we will investigate. And just as how we prosecute police officers for criminal offenses, if a criminal offense is committed by a member of the Defense Force, we will prosecute them in a similar way. But we must act within the realms of the law. We have to investigate, gather the evidence, and then prosecute individuals. So that's as far as I would want to go by way of explanation and seeking to bring clarity on this particular matter. I would entertain any question on the matter.
Please use the mic.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner. Okay, the thing is, and I've heard all what you have said. The facts are, based on a number of reports, you have situations of police, or you have allegations and reports of soldiers abusing people. You have the brigadier saying that he has given...
The brigadier, the Major General.
The Major General has given no directions in that area. So what is to be done? Because there are people still afraid of coming and make reports. You talk to police, I spoke at Besoshi, they said they have cameras and they've seen things, they've seen soldiers. What else can be done? What can be done to stop the soldiers from doing what they're doing? Whether you report it or not, what is to be done to stop the soldiers from doing it?
Well, if we're speaking about the allegations of abuse, every single allegation that is made must be investigated in order to make a determination whether there is an offense committed or not. That's the system we operate within a democracy. So if you as an individual is affected by the actions of a member of the defense force or any of the other services, including the police service, the process is to bring that information to the attention of the police service. And the form that we use is by making a report. Once the report is made, it will be investigated. And once investigated and the evidence is gathered, we will, in fact, prosecute once there is sufficient evidence to prosecute. And that's the assurance I want to give. So if any member of the public, even the members of the media, you are affected by the actions of soldiers or police officers, you need to make formal reports and we'll investigate the matter. We give you that assurance and we will prosecute whoever is culpable for criminal offenses. But I am not in charge of the defense force. If you're making a complaint about the police service, I can tell you all the actions I can take in relation to the police service. I am not in charge of the defense force, but as the head of the police service, I am under an obligation to bring to the attention of the head of the defense force the issues that are out in the public domain, which I am sure he's aware of because he will be reading newspaper and hearing articles. But I've gone beyond that. I've brought it to his attention.
Have you brought it to his attention to have it ceased? Because when you look at this thing, it's not 2 officers, it's not 3 soldiers. You normally get jeeps of officers, 20, 30 officers going into the area. They cannot just get up one morning and decide, well, we're driving out and do these things. There must be some orders from somewhere. It happens in I mean, knowing how the army operates, there's a process, right? And jeeps of soldiers don't just drive out and harass areas and that kind of thing, and nobody at any level is aware, right? So has the police service, in terms of making your concerns to the Brigadier General, Major General, my apologies.
Well, there's a Brigadier General. Why am I correcting you? There's a Brigadier General and there's a Major General. So if you speak about a Brigadier General, you're referring to a different individual. So I'm correcting you because I have not spoken to the Brigadier General.
Right. So in your discussions with the Major General, the police service, have there been any requests to have this situation ceased or stopped, or we sit down and have discussions on bringing back the joint army patrols, or what should be done? Because it continues despite all the concerns.
Well, it's not about bringing back the joint army patrol. There is a joint army patrol system operating right now in the country. On an ongoing basis, we have a relationship with the Defense Force, and they operate generally out of what is referred to as the Interagency Task Force. That's a long-standing arrangement from 2003 right on to now. So in Laventille, you will find soldiers and police officers working together. I do not have, and that's the point I'm trying to get to you, I do not have control of the Defense Force. I do not have the authority to tell a soldier where to go and where not to go. That is the responsibility of the Chief of Defense Staff. So if soldiers are in a community, there is nothing illegal about that. What is illegal is the actions that they may take or may not take. So if the actions are searching people's premises, that's an illegal act. And the persons who are affected, once they make a report, the police will investigate it. And if there is evidence to prosecute, we will prosecute. And if an individual is assaulted by a member of the Defense Force, that is a criminal act. And therefore, once they make a report, we'll seek the medical report to support it and their statement, and we'll again prosecute. So I'm just sharing with you, there is a role for the police service, and there is a role for the Defense Force. The Defense Force is under the leadership of the Major General, who is the Chief of Defense Staff. The police service is under the leadership of the Commissioner of Police. So I just wanted to bring clarity around the issue because there is no authority vested in the Commissioner of Police to tell soldiers where to go and not to go. That authority is vested in the Chief of Defense Staff, not the Commissioner of Police. So I can't tell them, don't go Toku, or don't go Mayaro, or don't go Arima. I cannot so direct members of the defense force. They are not under my authority.
In terms of protocol and the law, is the only way that the police can investigate can they only investigate after someone's made a report? Like, because there has been historically a distrust of the police service, people aren't coming forward. You have said that on several occasions that people aren't coming forward to help you. But let's say they come to the media. Can their interviews with the media be considered a report that you could go and investigate from there? Because while they come to us, it's because they hope that you will take some action. So if they don't particularly go to a police station themselves, can you use that as a stepping stone, as a launching pad to launch your own investigation?
It can be used, but at the end of the day, it comes back to the individual. When we are dealing with offenses against the person, for instance, an assault to you, we cannot operate on our own. We have to operate with your support. Without your statement making the allegation against an individual, there is nothing for us to operate with. So if they share, if somebody from the public share with a member of the media that X assaulted me, and the police intervene and say, you share that with the media, can you give the police service a report or support that with a statement? And he doesn't do that. There's nothing the police service can do. We have to understand the circumstances of offenses against the person. So if something happens in the presence of a police officer, even without the individual report, the police can intervene because the police officer saw what happened, can intervene, arrest a person, and still prosecute, even if he doesn't get the statement of the individual, because he would have witnessed the incident. But in the absence of that kind of action, you require the citizens to come forward. Citizens cannot be saying we are being abused and not supporting the allegation that they are being abused. How do you expect the police service to prosecute anyone?
My next question is, so you keep saying again and again that you have no control over the defense force. Are you going to be calling for a meeting with the Major General to actually sit down and say, you need to account for where your soldiers were at this time, at the time that these allegations were made?
I will be out of place. I will be out of place to tell the Major General, you need to account for where your soldiers, because he doesn't have the authority to tell me, you need to account for your police officers. He's running a defense force, I'm running a police service. I cannot call him and say, you need to account for your soldiers. You know, you are asking me to do things quite inconsistent with my office.
What role do you have in this?
I have shared with you the role.
But can you go to him and say?
Yeah, but I've shared
I need
with
to
you
talk
the
to
role
about-
that I have fulfilled.
You
I have
intend to-
brought to the attention of the Chief of Defense Staff the issues which are out there. I have brought it to his attention. It is not my responsibility to dictate anything to the Chief
And
of
are you
Defense
satisfied
Staff.
with his response?
I am satisfied with his response up to the point in time, unless you can share with or anybody else can share that the Chief of Defense Staff has given soldiers specific directions to go out with operations out there. But he has shared with me that that is not the case. And he has systems in place which he will be addressing the complaints that have been brought out against his soldiers.
And are you now worried that you now have to send more police officers out to not only police the community, but to police the soldiers who are in the community?
That's part of my job.
So
Part
when
of
you
my
do
job
that-
is a challenging one. Every single day, it becomes more dynamic and more dynamic and more dynamic. But that's my responsibility to effectively address the issues around safety and security in the country.
So do you think that you will be now will you have to now deploy more police officers to monitor not only the citizens, but the army?
It may be, I am not too sure at this point in time, but what is critical though is that in Trinidad and Tobago, like any other country, where a citizen is affected, adversely affected, that citizen must support an allegation. Wherever you go, you cannot operate without a citizen who is effectively assaulted supporting an allegation.
Yeah, just one last question from me, that is. In terms of this issue, soldiers patrolling without police escort or without police presence, searching without police presence, and wearing masks, is that illegal?
soldiers wearing masks, illegal, soldiers searching people's premises without police presence is illegal.
And in terms of that, what is the police service doing about
And I'm
that?
just plan of the police service, all we plan to do over this year, to see the things that we are looking at. Now, a plan is just a plan, so we can have a fancy plan. It really comes down to the execution. But a critical success factor for execution is the making available of the resources. And that is why I would have gone to the Ministry of Planning to address the making available of resources. And on yesterday, a team was with the budget division of the Ministry of Finance to address another form of funding for the police service. So we are working not by guess, we are working by way of clear plans, and those plans can be effectively judged by the media, so we're not keeping it secret. Transparency, openness, we are putting it out there, you look at it, and you can then track, are we doing this, are we doing that, consistent with our plans. So that's where we're going with the police service.
Thank you. Could you quickly tell me what's the situation with the Dana Sitahal investigation and the email investigation?
I'll pass those two to Mr. Hackett to give you an update.
Let me tell you, Mr. McKnight, that the Dana Sitahal murder investigation is progressing steadily, given the singular nature of the investigative process, and given the idiosyncratic challenges that faced us with respect to this investigation. It's not the normal run-of-the-mill murder investigation. I want to put that out to you. And we have had some challenges, technical as well as technological, and we have sought and collaborated with foreign law enforcement agencies to assist us in that regard. It is being presently undertaken as I speak. But given the totality of the circumstances, I can tell you that it is progressing steadily. What I can also tell you, Mr. McKnight, is that I am adamant in this investigation that I would not sacrifice accuracy for speed.